what's my perspective on what Zebec did in 2025, more specifically in the advertisement side of things? I would say it's pretty impressive to me, at least, even though nothing I say is financial advice. Zebec very recently, they made this post talking about how 2025 was a milestone year for Zebec's global presence. They say from Europe's biggest football stages to NBA and NHL arenas across the US, they say how 2025 was a breakout year for Zebec's sports campaigns. They say all eyes on 2026. And from the images that I do see from this post, I take a look at the Liverpool Stadium, right? I see it there. I see this being in the, again, NHL sort of match, right? Also, I see FC Bayern München. And actually, I've been to Munich in Germany. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool that I see that as well. And overall, when I take a look at something like Zebec, I would say it's pretty impressive when it comes to what they've done so far in terms of the advertisement side of things. Now, if I take a look at just the whole year overall, I would arguably say it is actually the most impressive year they've had historically ever, right? Not only did ZBCN at one point reach a market cap of around $500 million, but also at the same time, we saw ISO 20022 when it comes to Zebec, right? They apparently achieved that compliance this year. And also, for instance, I take a look at the partnerships that they had. Like, for instance, I see what they did with Algran. Also, not to mention, I take a look at what they're planning to do with World Mobile, right? And also, for instance, acquiring something like Science Card UK, being focused on education through that. So when I take a look at something like Zebec, I think it's a pretty impressive year. And also from the advertisement side of things, more specifically, again, Zebec does say all eyes on 2026. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can do, right? I can't look in the past. All I can do is look at the present. And as of right now, we're approaching 2026. So that's all I'm going to look at. But also, kind of my reaction sometimes when it comes to Zebec is that it's not doing the best. Of course, I'm totally aware of that. And it's still like around 40 times basically lower than 10 cents. So it's not really done much. And overall, a lot of people like to tell me that 2025 has been somewhat of a disappointing year when it comes to altcoins. And I do kind of feel that way as well, because we haven't just really seen, right, this 2021 type of altcoin season type of vibe this year. Who knows what's going to happen in 2026? But again, overall, at least when I take a look at Zebec this year, it kind of established itself. It kind of laid the groundwork, I think, for what the project is, because before 2025, Zebec was not really considered as an alternative beyond XDC or Stellar or something like that. It wasn't really considered that way. And actually, at the beginning of this year even, it was overshadowed by something called Onyx, or should I say XCN, because XCN had that initial rally first. XCN actually achieved a market cap of around $1 billion this year, which is Zebec's closest competitor. But the pullback when it comes to XCN has been a lot more extensive, because despite this year, XCN reaching a market cap that is pretty much double ZBCN at one point, now XCN has a lower market cap than ZBCN, even though ZBCN never reached the heights in which XCN did in terms of market cap this year. So ZBCN's been holding up a little bit better when it comes to that. And the thing is now with ISO 20022, I think it makes it a little bit more competitive within this space, right? Because previously, the only thing that was able to really be talked about when it comes to Zebec is the Solana aspect, and then also how Circle is one of the backers when it comes to Zebec. Circle is allegedly the creator of USDC, and also on top of that, Solana Ventures is also a backer when it comes to Zebec. But beyond that, there was really nothing like that. Was this kind of moment where people kind of went and said, this is sort of a player within this space of global trade and finance. There was really no definitive moment like that. But then this moment, fundamentally, I think, not too long ago, when it did achieve that ISO 20022 compliance. But even besides that, though, people like to wonder, okay, if that is the case, why was it actually better before? Well, it's because, first of all, the sentiment when it comes to altcoins was different before, right? It was better than right now. And also on top of that, back then, even though it was an altcoin season, the general vibe overall when it comes to altcoins is not like right now. So, of course, anything that kind of happens in a major way when it comes to Zebec as of right now is going to be a little bit toned down, because it's just not a time when there's an altcoin season, or the sentiment when it comes to altcoins are just not better, right? So it's going to be a little bit kind of limited in that sense. However, the thing is, couldn't this lay down maybe the groundwork for Zebec moving forward whenever it ever decides to change in sentiment when it comes to this space? Arguably, I would say yes, because if I take a look at it, let's just say I use a different example. Let's say a musician, right? If they're not performing, if they're not really making new music and they're, behind the scenes working on new things, and then eventually they make a concert and stuff like that, all of the stuff that they did kind of behind the scenes, it kind of shows it later on. You know what I mean? When there's a concert again and stuff like that. So when it comes to this space, the concert, so to speak, is like the altcoin season. As of right now, it's kind of like the season where things are just kind of building, I guess, for some projects, not every single project, but for the ones that are actually doing it, I think sometimes they could showcase it later on when there's that quote unquote concert, So when I take a look at something like Zebec, I'm still a fan of the, I guess, objective of the project, right? I mean, it's not necessarily reinventing the wheel in my perspective. Like being focused on global trade and finance and having an aspect of ISO 20022, it's nothing new. You know what I mean? Like Stellar has been focused on that for quite a while, and it's already even had an aspect of ISO 20022 for quite a while. Same could really be said also when it comes to XDC, which is another competitor when it comes to Zebec. So it's really nothing that's too new, right? What it's doing. Sure, it's focused on payrolls when it comes to Zebec, but it's really nothing that revolutionary in the grand scheme of things within this space. So I don't think Zebec is ever going to become like, this major sort of player in the overall space, but for the niche that it's in, arguably, I think it could really kind of showcase something, at least in terms of bringing a new approach in terms of just the vibe overall, right? Because what Zebec to me represents that XDC and something like Stellar, or should I say XLM, does not, and also to a certain extent, something like XCN, right? Or should I say Onyx, is that it has the backers that it has when it comes to Zebec, like I mentioned before. It has the Solana aspect, and also on top of that, the market cap right now is below 250 million. You know what I mean? Sure, I mean, XCN has a smaller market cap than this right now, but when I consider all things when it comes to Zebec, it just represents to me something that the others don't really kind of have in my perspective. Not in terms of fans, not in terms of community, not in terms of popularity, I'm not saying that. But in terms of kind of just the unique vibe that it gives me, I am not telling anyone to do anything, but this is just my perspective. Again, this is just the way I take a look at this project. It just kind of showcases to me something that I don't really see with the space that it's in as of right now. If I just exclude Onyx, or should I say XCN, this kind of showcases to me that it is a project that is focused again on global trade and finance, much like XLM, or should I say Stellar, and also in the case of, XDC, but it does not have a massive market cap like what they have. This is just kind of the way to take a look at it. But even besides that point, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but yeah, I am looking at 2026, much like apparently Zebec is, because they even say that in the post. They say all eyes on 2026. We'll see what happens, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to say thank you for watching, and depending on when you watch this video, I want to say hopefully you all have a very happy New Year's, and I want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain.